Hello everyone, today I'll answer an interesting question. Is it possible to mix antifreeze colors and how do they differ? Also, what kind of antifreeze should you use in your car? Let's get started. First, I want to emphasize that understanding the topics we'll discuss is very important and every driver, regardless of age or gender, should know this. I won't teach you how to repair a car, but rather how to properly maintain it and avoid costly repairs. So friends, I recommend watching this video to the end. To begin, I'll explain what antifreeze actually is. Antifreeze, also known as coolant, is a liquid designed to keep the engine at optimal operating temperatures. As the engine runs, parts spin and turn, generating heat. We won't get into the mechanical details, but this is what causes the engine to warm up. So, when the engine heats up to certain temperatures, the job of antifreeze is cool the engine. That's its main task. Antifreeze also has anti-corrosion properties. It protects the engine from internal corrosion. It also has lubricating properties. But either way, the quality of this so-called coolant is very important. Accordingly, these antifreezes come in different types, which is where the whole question begins. Different colors like green, blue, yellow, red. The question arises, can you mix them? Friends, in our day and age, the color of antifreeze is not that important. It's not as important, I'll put it differently, as what's inside. Antifreeze consists of 80% ethylene glycol and water. Everything else, those are various additives, some of which protect the engine more from corrosion, while others perform other functions. Very often, you can't mix these additives. So I'll say this right at the start of the video, that it turns out you might be able to mix antifreeze colors, but sometimes you can't. The class matters. With antifreeze, its composition matters, not just the color. You could even say color might sometimes not be important. You can pour red antifreeze into red antifreeze, but it might have a completely different composition. Or possibly the opposite. You'll mix red with a different color, but this can be done because the compositions will be the same. Now, a beginner driver may have a question. How can I encounter this antifreeze problem so that I can understand these different brands and so on? Everything is very simple. Antifreeze is poured into the expansion tank, which has two markings, minimum and maximum. And the driver, any driver, regardless of gender and age, should monitor the level of this liquid. It should not be less than the minimum, nor exceed the maximum. The coolant shouldn't just evaporate like windshield washer fluid does. Liquid shouldn't spray on glass or gas, but leaks and breakdowns happen. Antifreeze can leak. When it does, we wonder, what type should we add? Same color. At stores, we see many colors. Or we might ask what to buy when it's time to change. Check the manual. Some need changing every 40,000 miles or 3 years. Others last longer. Always consult the owner's manual and you might want a different brand. They'll advise if it's okay. Many wonder what happens if we mix antifreezes that shouldn't be mixed due to their class or composition. I hope you get that color isn't key here. What's crucial is that no one knows how this fluid acts when heated. If we mix different classes of additives that shouldn't mix, it can create sediment. If it does over time, not right away, the antifreeze flowing through channels clogs paddles, pump, and radiator. Consequently, you're more likely to overheat in summer. Steam will come from under the hood, ending badly. If we overheat the engine, it'll be an expensive repair. So how do we know which antifreeze to use? You've probably guessed, it's simple. We have the owner's manual for your car. Even if you bought used and don't have the manual, we have OK, Yandex, Google. We can look up, call dealers, or check various sources. We need to check what coolant the manufacturer recommends. That's what we use. Often it's G11 antifreeze, or G12, G12+, G13, or maybe Tosol. That is, there are mineral coolants and organic ones. Modern cars are mainly using organic ones. These are exactly G12, G12 plus 2 plus G13, so you can understand this. Do not get too confused about this. Just open your manual and check if it's the type of antifreeze, and I recommend you buy this antifreeze immediately. Take with you at least a liter in your trunk. Because what if there's some kind of leak, maybe in the radiator or a pipe, and the fluid level gets too low? What then? You have it with you. You fill it up and keep going. If suddenly you get into such a situation, if a car breaks down on the road due to overheating or some breakdown and your tank is empty, you need to add antifreeze to get to the repair place. So in this situation, add the antifreeze you have. You can even pour distilled water there and then drive to the repair place, because all the consequences I told you about, such as heating the fluid even when the fluid is heated, produces some kind of sediment, even if it happens gradually, not all at once. It takes time, but I had a case. I was driving, and about 10 kilometers from a city, suddenly, everything spilled under the hood. My pump broke down. To reach the repair shop, I had to keep adding distilled water. Some people just use regular water to get to a repair place. So we're not thinking about what class or color it is. Guys, the conclusion we can draw is that you can mix antifreeze colors if they match your vehicle's class. If you have G12 of different colors but the same composition, go ahead and mix them. You don't need to overthink it, just know this. A good store will ask what car you have and what antifreeze you need. Check online or your manual for the right class and type. Well, that's it. Always carry a liter of coolant with you, just in case something happens. You already know what to pour in there. This reminds me of an important tip to avoid injuring yourself or getting a serious burn when topping up, especially if your engine is hot. Everything is scorching and the coolant inside is just as hot. Before unscrewing the tank cap, always place a rag on top, because hot steam will likely spray out and burn your hand. Wear a glove or use a rag. Only then unscrew the cap and top up as needed. This is if we're talking about topping up when the engine is at operating temperature. In general, try to check the coolant level between min and max in the expansion tank when the engine is cold before driving somewhere. This will give you the most accurate reading. By the way, when you check what coolant class your car uses, G11, G12, G13, or antifreeze, many mistakenly mix G11 with antifreeze. Plus or minus are considered the same, but in fact there is a difference. You should definitely check how often you need to change the coolant, because no matter how good it is, even tanks break down eventually. Nothing lasts forever, and coolant loses its properties over time. So I'll say it again. In some cars, you need to change the coolant every 40,000 kilometers, the same antifreeze. In other cars, it's designed to last 100 or even 200,000 km. As for tips when buying a used car, you don't know when the coolant was last changed or if it was ever changed at all. You can ask the previous owner about it, but they may not have that information if they weren't the first owner. You can unscrew the expansion tank cap. Again, I remind you to use a rag if it's hot to avoid getting burned. It's best to do this when the engine is cold and at least visually check the condition regarding antifreeze. Ideally, have it changed at a service center when you go for maintenance. However, if you notice a cloudy, thick liquid with debris or sediment, it definitely needs replacement. Antifreeze in the expansion tank should be clean and relatively transparent. To clarify, can you mix different colors of antifreeze? Is it okay to combine different classes? You can't. Remember, red antifreeze can belong to different classes. Conversely, G12 antifreeze can come in various colors. If they're the same class, you can mix colors. We focus more on the antifreeze class than color. Pay attention to the coolant class in your car, not its color. Learn about your car. I always say, guys, it's like a family member. It needs the same attention, care, and investment. Well, that's all for today. If you found this info helpful, give the video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. As always, I wish you all safe travels. Catch you later.